In the highlands of Ethiopia, where the sun rises above mountains crowned with lush greenery, the legend of an emperor was born, one who would shape not only the history of his country but also the destiny of Africa and the world. This is the story of Haile Selassie, a man hailed as the Lion of Judah, a leader who rose from the depths of tradition to the heights of global diplomacy, navigating the turbulence of the 20th century. Haile Selassie was born on July 23, 1892, in Ajerzagoro, in the Harar province of Ethiopia, as Lij Tafari Makanan. He was born into the powerful Solomonic dynasty, a royal family that traced its lineage back to the biblical King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, a myth that gave the monarchy divine authority. Tafari's father, Ras Makanan, was a trusted general and cousin to Emperor Menelik II, one of Ethiopia's most revered rulers. From a young age, Tafari was groomed for leadership, immersed in the complex court politics of Ethiopia, a country that had fiercely maintained its independence while much of Africa fell under colonial rule. Tafari was a diligent student, absorbing languages like French, Amharic, and Ge'ez, and learning the intricacies of statecraft. As a young nobleman, his composed demeanor earned him respect at court. His ascension to power, however, was not immediate, nor was it guaranteed. Ethiopia was a land of competing noble factions, and the politics of succession were treacherous. But Tafari was patient. When Menelik II died, power transitioned to his daughter, Empress Suditu. Tafari, now known as Ras Tafari, was made regent and heir apparent. In 1930, following Empress Suditu's death, Ras Tafari was crowned Emperor Haile Selassie I, Might of the Trinity. His coronation was a grand spectacle, attended by royals and dignitaries from around the world. At the center of the ceremony was the man who wore the triple crown of Ethiopia and took on the titles King of Kings, Lord of Lords, conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah. The weight of the Solomonic dynasty now rested firmly on his shoulders, and with it, the hopes of Ethiopia. Selassie's vision for Ethiopia was one of modernization. At a time when the winds of change were sweeping across the globe, he sought to reform his ancient nation. He implemented new educational programs, established a constitution in 1931, and invested in infrastructure. He saw Ethiopia not just as an African nation, but as a beacon for black independence in a world still ruled by colonial powers. But not all were pleased with his reforms. The nobility, resistant to his centralization of power, plotted against him, and some factions sought to undermine his authority. Despite these challenges, Selassie's grip on Ethiopia was strong, bolstered by his charisma and spiritual significance. However, Selassie's greatest test was yet to come. In 1935, the Italian dictator Benito Mussolini launched a brutal invasion of Ethiopia, seeking to expand his fascist empire. The world watched in horror as Italy, armed with modern weaponry and poison gas, waged war against an unprepared nation. Despite Ethiopia's gallant resistance, the Italians overwhelmed them. In the face of invasion, Haile Selassie made a decision that would define his legacy. Rather than surrendering or accepting a figurehead role under Italian occupation, he chose to flee into exile, seeking support from the League of Nations in Geneva. In 1936, Selassie gave a powerful speech before the League, condemning the use of chemical weapons and pleading for international intervention. His words echoed around the world, "It is us today. It will be you tomorrow." Though the League failed to act, and Ethiopia fell under Italian rule, Selassie's speech became a symbol of resistance against fascism. For 5 long years, he lived in exile in Britain, a king without a throne, biding his time as the storm of World War II gathered force. His resilience and determination earned him admiration from anti-colonial movements around the globe. In 1941, with the help of Allied forces, Haile Selassie returned to Ethiopia triumphantly, liberating his country from fascist control. His return was seen not just as the victory of one man, but as a symbol of hope for oppressed peoples everywhere. Selassie was more than an emperor, he was now a legend, a living testament to the endurance of freedom. In the years that followed, Selassie sought to rebuild Ethiopia, modernizing its institutions and strengthening its international ties. He played a pivotal role in the founding of the United Nations and was a prominent voice for African unity. In 1963, he helped establish the Organization of African Unity, OAU, advocating for the decolonization of Africa and the promotion of Pan-Africanism. Selassie's vision of a united, independent Africa inspired leaders like Kwame Nkrumah, Julius Nyerere, and Nelson Mandela. While Haile Selassie's political impact was undeniable, his influence reached far beyond the realm of governance. In the Caribbean island of Jamaica, a spiritual movement was growing that viewed Selassie not as a mere man, but as the embodiment of God on earth. The Rastafarian movement, which emerged in the 1930s, saw Haile Selassie as the second coming of Christ, a messianic figure who would lead the African diaspora back to their ancestral homeland. For Rastafarians, Selassie's lineage from King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, as well as his defiance of colonial powers, confirmed his divinity. Though Selassie himself never claimed to be a god and even distanced himself from the movement's religious aspects, his image became central to Rastafarian identity. Songs like Bob Marley's War immortalized his words and ideals, spreading his influence across continents. Despite his remarkable achievements, Haile Selassie's reign was not without controversy. By the 1970s, Ethiopia faced significant challenges: widespread poverty, famine, and increasing discontent among the population. While Selassie had modernized many aspects of Ethiopian society, much of the rural population still lived in feudal conditions. The gap between the emperor's grand international reputation and the harsh realities at home grew ever wider. In 1974, a military coup led by the Marxist Derg regime deposed Selassie. The aging emperor was arrested and confined to his palace. In a heartbreaking end, the once revered Lion of Judah was reportedly strangled in 1975, though the exact circumstances of his death remain shrouded in mystery. Though Selassie's reign ended in tragedy, his legacy endures. He remains a symbol of African independence and unity, a man whose life was interwoven with the struggles and aspirations of his people. His speeches, ideals, and courage during times of immense hardship continue to inspire those who seek freedom and justice. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hit the subscribe button for more interesting stories.